Good Friday morning. I'm going to read the Book of Wisdom. I love the Book of Wisdom. You know, the Book of Wisdom is a confluence of I always say, Eastern Mediterranean thought, Jewish Christian, okay, whatever you want to call it, okay, Jewish thought, but also Greek influence, Hellenic thought. This is a wisdom literature. There's no pun intended. This is a wisdom literature. But what he says here, and this is interesting. Oh, I'll just read it to you. The wicked. This is early chapter 2. The wicked said among themselves, thinking not aright, let us beset the just one, because he's obnoxious to us. He sets himself against our doings, reproaches us for transgressions of the law, and charges us with violations of our training. That's interesting. The wicked, who's he describing? He seems to be describing the Pharisees in a way, because what do? They reproach us for transgressions of the law and charges us with violations of our training. Who would be doing that? That would be the officials of the society. That would be the Pharisees. This would be the same time as Christ. The Book of Wisdom is virtually the same time as Christ. See? He professes to have knowledge of God and styles himself a child of God. See? To us, he's the center of our thoughts. Merely to see him is a hardship for us. That's a good description of Christ. Okay? But it is before Christ, but not by much. Eh? To us, he is the center of our thoughts. Merely to see him is a hardship for us, because his life is not like that of others, and different are his ways. He judges us as debased. He holds aloof from our paths as from things impure. That's interesting. That can't be the Pharisees. He calls blessed the destiny of the just and boasts that God's his Father. Let us see whether his words are true. Let us find out what will happen to him. For if the just one be the Son of God, he will defend him and deliver him from the hands of his foes. With revilement and torture, let us put him to the test, that we may have proof of his gentleness and try his patience. Let us condemn him to a shameful death, for according to his own words, God will take care of him. These were their thoughts. They erred, for their wickedness blinded them. They knew not the hiddenness of the counsels of God. Neither did they count on the recompense of holiness, nor discern the innocent soul's reward. Boy, that's interesting. You could see the New Testament was following right up on that wisdom literature. This is an apt description of Christ, of course. But it's also an apt description in the future of the church, where the church is the wisdom of God preaching to the world, and the world often doesn't want to hear it. It often doesn't. It's the church that challenges the world's wisdom. That's the truth. That is the truth. And when you see what happens, whatever this is worth, when the church is abandoned and her gospel wisdom is abandoned, it's replaced by a pseudo-wisdom. What amazes me so much, I know I beat this thing to death, but whatever it's worth, I think the 20th century is the singular greatest lesson we can learn about what happens when you abandon the cross of Christ. When you abandon Christianity, what do you replace it with? And the 20th century is living proof of it, or even dying proof of it. I think we're dying culture, actually, to be blunt about it. We've been abandoning Christianity since the 17th century, the so-called Enlightenment. And it gave rise to some of the greatest things in Western history. Science, I know, there's pluses. Science and I think the end of monarchies and the beginning of constitutional government. I think those are marvelous democracies. Those are marvelous contributions of the 17th century to the 20th century, 21st century. But there's also something about the soul of that culture. As one philosopher, Karl Jaspers, wrote back in the 30s, the soul has fled the West. We have the greatness of our culture still there in its structure, its sciences, its democracies, and its constitutional governments. This is marvelous. Boy, I am a virtual worshiper of constitutional government. I don't want any part of monarchies, okay? I mean that. But there's also something about the humanism that has to undergird it, and that's what we have abandoned. And that's a very deep humanism that we have lost. It's a Judeo-Christian humanism, a belief that we are children of God, sons of Christ, sons of the Father, brothers and sisters of Christ, and not in any pious sense, but in a profoundly radical sense, which that belief transforms our morality. It makes a morality heroic as opposed to expedient. It gives a depth and a power even to a genius like Aristotle. Really a genius like Aristotle. I mean that. I love Aristotle. A virtue is not enough. You need a profound and a radical humanism to undergird it. He had a great sense of humanism and a just society. But it needs to be more radicalized than that. And I think the reason for that is because we are blindly foolish and we are condemned to death by our lives. We have to have a wisdom that transcends death. It has to be a wisdom that consecrates human wisdom. Doesn't eliminate it, it consecrates it. Because I think left to itself, philosophy is not enough. And I teach philosophy, think about that. I think of myself as a philosopher, not as a theologian. But I see its limits. But in the end, when I seek meaning in life, I don't seek it in philosophy as much as I love philosophy. I see philosophy as a handmaiden to theology, to a wisdom. But the wisdom doesn't come from philosophy. It comes from the crucified Christ. I keep saying that because I find wisdom in the cross of Christ. Because in the cross of Christ, death and evil are overcome. Say, not just sin, evil and death are overcome. Life is transformed from passage into eternity, and that there and a final rectitude of all things. When I look at this 20th century and I see the abandonment of Christianity, remember Hitler was a Catholic, Mussolini was a Catholic, Stalin was a Orthodox Christian, and they abandoned it, they threw it out, and they placed it by themselves, and they led to the murder of 80 million people, the death of 80 million people. Hitler stands out to me because he was a Catholic. What happens when you replace Christ with yourself? Your vanities become self and utter destructive. An amazing thing was a Christian country, as deeply Christian as Germany was, they actually saw him in saw Hitler in messianic terms. Anything is possible. I'm not condemning the Germans. I'm worried. I fear our capacity in rejecting Christ to create monster messiahs. And we can do it. We could happen here and right in the United States. We can happen anywhere in the world. If it could happen in Germany, it can happen anywhere. I don't condemn them. I use them, and I had a reverence for them. I think if it could happen to you fellas, it could happen to us. What happens when you lose an ultimate wisdom, you can condemn yourself to a finite wisdom. And that's the bottom line. And I think that's absolutely true. History is a ruthless teacher here. It's a ruthless teacher. And I think the ideology, is very interesting because these dictatorships attacked the church. Hitler did. So did Stalin, for sure. They attacked it. Mussolini did, and I think he was too stupid. But those other two are real monsters. Muzzy was a Mussolini. My father used to call him Muzzy. Muzzy was a blowhard. There was nothing blowhard about Stalin or Hitler. They were monsters with iron teeth. They bit out humanity itself. Now, I don't know. I think about that. Watch out what you give up. The wisdom that you give up, and what did you replace it with? If it's a wisdom of this world, you condemned yourself to futility, and history's proof of it. You will produce a deity, most likely the deity of your own vanities. That's the danger. With Christianity and religion, and with Judeo-Christianity, we don't answer to ourselves. We answer for ourselves to a deity that sees all, loves us, and he forgives, but he holds us accountable. I have to say that I'm strong, yes. I find a greater need for eternity and afterlife. You want to use those language than I ever did before. Not because I want to live after death, it's because I want to find a rightness to things. Life is too, and reality is too cruel and too unjust for that to be all there is. The 20th century is proof of that. There has to be more. There has to be a final rightness thing. Evil has to be triumphed over. The victims of the world have to be redeemed from their victimhood. There has to be a final rectitude. It isn't going to be in this life. It isn't, because the victims can't be saved in this life. It can only be in the eternity and in Christ himself, filling up those things, wanting in the suffering of Christ, and sharing a Good Friday and Easter Sunday. I believe that because I hope life has a meaning.